Hello, so let's take a look at some of the calculations we can do in Python. So normal calculations are going to be done the same way that you might expect. So if I want to do, just like we did before, width times height, we can do that. And if we run this module, sure enough, we're going to see it as width times height. We can also do all of the other ones that you might expect. We could, for example, take width, we could add 2. Could take width and subtract 10. How about 8? We could take, also, we could print width divided by 2. All right, and so let's take a look and see what all this does. So sure enough, all of this math just works. Now you may notice the width divided by 2 did give us the floating point number of 5. Because when we use division with a single slash, we're going to use what's called floating point division, and it's going to make sure that these are treated as floats, so the final result is a float. Watch what happens if we print with double slash 2. This is going to use what's called integer division. And if we run this, we'll see we get the integer 5. Well, you may say, well, that's not a big deal. 5.0 and 5 make a lot of sense. Let's change these numbers to 3s and see what happens. This will really drive home what one of the differences is. So here we can see when we divide by 3, we get the floating point number of 3 with 3 repeating, but we've truncated the number when we were using the integer division. So what about negative numbers? Well, let's see. So what happens if we take this, let's make another copy of it. We're going to come in here and we're also going to grab it and do it by -3. And we'll do the same thing down here. We'll grab it and we'll do it by -3. And let's see what it looks like. Run it again. So for -3, we see we actually rounded the other way. We didn't truncate, meaning we didn't just chop off the remainder like we did in the first one, but instead we were always rounding down, is maybe another way of putting it. So we go more negative, but if we're a positive number, we just get caught up there. So the double slash division operator is really useful if we want to make sure we have an integer number that we're done with, but we do have to be aware of its different rounding rules. And they are covered online, so you can take a look at them if you'd like. So let's take a look at one more operator, the remainder operator. So let's look at print of width modulus 3. So this means do the division and then give me the remainder. So in this case, when we run this, we're going to see that the modulus is 1, because you can see we have 1 extra 3, right? We can tell that from the 3 repeating. So this says when we divide width by 3, we get 3 with a remainder of 1. So what we're going to output is the remainder of 1. There's also the ability to do exponents. Exponents are going to use the double star. So let's look at width squared, for example. This is going to now run us through and, oops, we'll see that 10 squared is 100. So if we want to do the square root, we can do that as well. It's just an exponent to a 0.5, some number between 0 and 1. So this will give us the square root of 10, which is 3.1 whatever. So that's all our operators. So the last thing to remember is our order of operations, and this is straight from math. So if we remember parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, or PEMDAS, we'll see that if we do with plus 2 times 3 minus 5, and we run this, we're going to see that this 2 times 3 is going to happen first, and then we'll work left to right after that. So this will be 10 plus 6, which is 16, minus 5, which is 11. If we want to fix this, maybe we wanted to do width plus 2, we're going to use an extra set of parentheses to make sure that width plus 2 happens first then multiplied by 3, and then we subtract 5. This forces this to happen first. And is really what you need to remember with order of operations, is that you need to use parentheses to force things to happen first, or you have to pay very close attention to the PEMDAS. And these extra division ones, modulus and integer division, they're all incorporated in that D of division. So I recommend using parentheses whenever you'd like to make sure something happens first, just so you don't have an easy PEMDAS error. They happen all the time. So if you focus on the P, the parentheses, and make sure that your work is in there, you won't have any problems. So now you've seen a bunch of the different sort of general math operators or calculations that we can do in Python. We can store variables, we can ask for information from the user, and we can print out information. So there's quite a bit we can do. We'll look a little more at formatting here next.